I'm going to read it right now. So I want to make sure I capture everything. But this is Carolina Rutz, pronoun she, her, was diagnosed at the age of 4 and was fascinated by theology and horse racing at a young age. She earned her BA in history/political science, Concordia University, Irvine, awarded an MA in theology from Concordial Theological Seminary, and afterward AAS in Computer Information Services from Ivy Tech Community College. Prevented from pursuing church work due to her disability, she worked in retail, merchandising, and the gamble industry. Now retired and on a permanent disability, Carol devotes her life as a Kentucky colonel and as an Anglican. Her latest project is promoting the holistic theology. Okay, so um, that is Carolina, and I know you've got a ton of things to say, so I'm going to hand off to you whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Yeah, looks like Mrs. That she has some difficulty hearing clearly. I think that there is something the matter. Check to make sure, okay? Thank you. Hi, I'm Carol Rutz. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you to Cassie. Thank you to the guys at Yale. Hello, fellow autistics. Hello, people from Connecticut, around the world, beyond. And give you a heads up. My talk will have some triggering items like spiritual abuse, mental illness, um, mentions of the unthinkable, aka suicide. So if you're going to be skeeved out by it, you're more than happy to mute or to because I like you guys. I really want you to feel safe. And okay, so I'm Carol Rutz, she, her, and this is my story. I was a middle child of 5. I was born to Latino parents in California. And for some odd reason, my earliest memory is watching a bunch of videos like music videos like Jackson's Can You Feel It? Um, Probably I saw a commercial of Chariots of Fire, which was released sometime in 1981 or 1982. So I had a weird situation in which when I was born, I could recall things when I was a very young child, and I was mute. I could talk, but I was mute for a long time. And they thought I was severely disabled, or or not severely. It's more like they noticed there something was off. My sister my older sister noticed that I can read at the age of 2. They didn't know that early reading was a part of the of autism. But eventually I was diagnosed at the age of 4, and and that's what's going on. So I went to school for being mute at the age of 2. And here's the thing, my mom was studying to become a X-ray technician, a nurse, and my father was working at an Italian restaurant at the time, a place called Casa Vela Restaurant in North Hollywood, California. And over there, so Joe was the proprietor, the chef, the owner. And he's a typical Italian guy, very and you could just tell that he is a really swell dude. He loves the Brat Pack, the Frank Sinatra, the Jamie Dean, Sammy Davis Jr., and he also has in his restaurant pictures of horse races, winner circles pictures. In fact, let me see if you ever seen a winner circle picture of beautiful horses and people at the racetrack. And of course, um, I was introduced to horse racing by my dad's boss. And one day, Joe was reading his paper, his on horse racing, and he was about to go to the racetrack to bet on horses. I do not recommend gambling, but if you can, do so responsibly. And I said to Joe, pick this horse. You know, I was a young kid. I was 4 years old. It sounded good. Pick this horse. She sounds you know. And I was reading, and somehow I could comprehend stuff. And I said, pick this horse. And the kids and Joe said, oh, okay. So so what happened is that Joe did place a modest bet for me, and he won the rate. I won, and he was very surprised. And I watched the Kentucky Derby the first time in 1985 when Spin the Book won the Kentucky Derby. And so I've been watching the Derby, the Preakness, the the Belmont, and I also been reading the newspapers, catching up on Hollywood Park, Los Alamitos, Santa Anita, Bill Shoemaker, the jockey, Breeders' Cup. So there's a lot of horse racing when I was growing up in Southern California. And so I grew and I have dealt with a lot of issues with my autism, mainstreamed. I read a lot of books, read Tolkien's, read C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia. I was baptized Catholic and when I was two, I was or one, I don't know, and so my parents raised me up as a nominally Catholic, and later on when I became a high school student, I became a Protestant. Yeah, you know, one of the evangelical people. And but before doing that, I want to give you a background on Silver Charm. So you're probably thinking, who's Silver Charm? So Silver Charm it was born on February 22nd, 1994 in Florida. So by that time, I was a student in high school. And so basically how it works is that a horse is foaled at 1 year, yearling horse. Second thing is at the age of two, he would race with other 2-year-old horses in the late fall, and then he will and then the third year is the high maturation year in which 3-year-old horses are eligible to run the Triple Crown races, Kentucky Derby in St. Louis, Missouri. I mean, blah, 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 in in Louisville, Kentucky, the Preakness in Baltimore, Maryland, and Belmont Park, the Belmont Stakes in Belmont Park, New York. So that's the thing. You These horses are wonderful athletes. They then So the thing about Silver Charm is that a lot of times those horses are supposed to have this high pedigree, but Silver Charm's pedigree is different. He has a modest uh background. He was born to a horse named Bonnie's Porker and a mare by that name. And I try to remember the other person, Silver Buck. Silver Buck was sired by Buckmaster, I think, or Buckfuller, or I try to remember his name, Buckmaster. He basically he is related to Spinnerbug. A lot of those horses participate in Derby, and then they get breeded. So so after a few races of 3 years old, depending on how things are going, they usually go to they usually either go to the breeding shed or get gelded and become or basically retire or run themselves to the ground. Fortunately, this is a at the time when Silvertron was born, there has been some issues with animal humanity, humane practices, I so basically when usually when a horse at that time retires, they usually go to a second thing, but you no one knows what was going on with retirement, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. So so basically, after this whole thing, he gets the best case scenario, the horse gets bred, and he becomes a stud, and he'll go to a horse stud farm in Kentucky or Japan or England, and that's the best case scenario. Um, the Silver Charms life is actually about being an ambassador for retired horses after the racetrack is over. And so Silver Charm was born to was the breeder is a woman in Woolton, and and a horse and so enter Bob and Beverly Lewis. They're the owners, and they said to Bob Baffert, the trainer, "Hey, can you help me look for a nice horse and see what's going on?" So they found this nice horse named Silver Charm in Florida, and he doesn't look like a regal type of horse. His conformation is kind of his knees and his limbs are kind of he just looks like a workhorse. And let me see. So said, "Hi, let's run Silver Charm over at the California circuit." So he won the at the age of 2, he won the Delma Futurity, which is a 2-year-old race, and then he began to be on the Derby Trail. He raced in Santa Anita. He got second place at the Santa Anita Derby before he got before he won the Kentucky Derby, and he was he's a beautiful dark gray horse. He won the Derby in 1997, and he won the Preakness in a few weeks later. And he lost. He was quite close to winning the Triple Crown, but he got tired. He lost by length to Touch Gold, who, by the way, also lives with Silver Charm in his farm today. After that, he ran other races, like the Dubai World Cup, and then he was sent to Kentucky to Three Chimneys, and later on went to a place called Japan. I don't remember which place had him. So this is what Silver Charm looks like years later. So he's a he that gray horses become even more wider and grayer and lost its things. So horses, yay! I love horses. And so what happened is that so he went to Japan, and at the time there was this very bad situation with one of the Kentucky Derby horses, a horse named Ferdinand. I think he ran in 1987. He won the Breeders' Cup, and he went to Japan. And the problem is that everybody want to know where's Ferdinand? He's supposed to be in a stud farm in Japan. And it turns out that he was sent to the slaughterhouse. And there's a big objection, but in a lot of people today decided to take care. I know it's unfortunate, and this is where this is where Silver Charms owners this is where his retirement farm came in. So what happened is that a guy named Michael Blowen, who was a film critic of from the Boston Globe, he he loved horse racing, and he heard about the same thing about Ferdinand. And of course, he was very angry, saddened, and wondering what can he do to help these horses to have a good life. These champion horses deserved a good life after that. They came here for our entertainment. And it is appropriate and meet salutary wise to do that. To be so we owe to themselves, we owe them a proper retirement. And that's his philosophy. And he said, I'm going to open up a horse farm in Kentucky. And he said, and he and nobody, people think that that's wild, ridiculous. But then he had one horse, and he wanted Silver Charm to retire. That's one of his favorite horses. And somehow he was putting out feelers saying, we have a horse retirement farm for thoroughbred racers. Champions can retire here. And even claimers, even those over in a smaller circuits can retire there. So Old Friends is a beautiful place. And so one day he got a phone call from Japan saying, "Hey, we got a silver stallion. We were more than happy to have him." And then the owners, the family of the owners who later on passed away, paid for his migration back to Kentucky, and had a trust fund, so he is all set to live a good, comfortable life where he can live the rest of his years. I think he came in and to Old Friends in 2009, 2010. I don't remember which year. So he was living in, or is it 2015? I'm just trying to remember the so if you want more information, go to Old Friends Retirement Farm. I think it's oldfriends.org, oldfriends.com. So so basically I was in high school at the time, and I heard about Silver Charm, and it was like neat, 1997 was a very good year. I was a senior. I got a lot of scholarships, and I went to Concord University, and then I just lost, I had to focus on my studies. I became a Lutheran in 98, and I graduated in 2001. I went to Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I was getting my master's in theology. I was going to become a church worker. And I met this beautiful husband, this beautiful man, retired guy, and he became my husband. He was a Lutheran pastor, and I married him in 2003. And shortly after, I graduated with a master's in theology. His name was, I call him Praggy. It's from a German word meaning preacher. And Praggy and I have an interesting relationship. He was 37 and a half years older than me, and my family accepted him. And what happened is that we got married, and he said, "Why don't we become a deaconess to help work the church?" Actually, I was going to become a good Lutheran. I studied Greek. I know a little bit of Latin. I know about the liturgy, the rituals. I also was trained in systematics. And so basically, it's more like getting to the nitty gritty, and it's just it was just surreal, more head knowledge. And being a deaconess is supposed to be a type of work that you work in a parish, you help women and children. And the problem is that quite strict, no women's ordination, and and some people are very uh confessional. They don't like the idea of deaconesses doing adult Bible studies, so they want women's Bible studies. And of course it does depend on each church. There's more than one flavor church. You have probably heard of the one I used to belong to is I got good people, very smart people, and unfortunately, this is what happened when things get a bit to the worst. So I got good grades. And after I was trained in learning about death and dying, hospice care, uh, parish counseling, um, dealing with domestic violence, that type of stuff, like all those classes to apply to that. The professor said to me, Carol, you have good grades, but you're not suitable for the work. We want you to pursue a different vocation. And I call it the exile. I screamed. I wanted to go over the stairs at the seminary and throw myself down there. Unfortunately, it's not fair, because um, the Supreme Court has a ruling saying that according to Hosanna versus Tabor, the case, the I cannot sue a private organization, like a religious organization, for discrimination. And yeah, you can look it up, Hosanna Tabor. Um, so um, so basically, I have no recourse. And I have that is a crisis of faith. It's what they call the light of the soul, light. And I was dealing with depression. But and of course, luckily, I have found good friends along the way. And I credit my friends and various people for helping me along the way during this time. I went to Ivy Tech Community College, went back to college, and I got myself an associate's in computers. And then that's when I met the Ohio Legs Fest. So what happened was that what was that I there was a conference I was learning about. Yes, I do agree. It is getting me the most discriminated of all, unfortunately. Anyway, what's going on is that these people of the Ohio Legs Fest, I went to their conference, I got interested, and I met the conference organizers. I helped them out, and then they asked me to join their organizing committee. I was excited. In fact, for several years I've been working with the Ohio Linux Fest as a volunteer. And during the time when I was not volunteer with the Linux Fest, organizing the next year in Columbus, Ohio, I would go to do merchandising work. I used to work for Crossmark, and I would go to 12 different Walmarts in Indiana, Ohio. And it was good. It was a good thing. And then later on, what happened is that my husband's illness, because of his older age, he developed dementia, vascular dementia. And it's a long story about that too, but I had to be close to him, make sure he's all right. So, so I was being close. So at the same time, um, we're nearby where we live in New Haven, Indiana. There's this horse racing place called the Winter Circle Off Track Betting Facility. It's like basically people go in and gamble on horse races and have a little snack, a little cocktail, and it's a very busy place. And I heard that American Pharoah was going to run the Triple Crown. He said, I heard that this guy won the Derby, he won the Preakness, and if he wins the Belmont, he wins the Triple Crown trophy. And there's only, at the time, the last time somebody won the Triple Crown was in 1978 with the horse named Affirmed. And so I said, I'm gonna go in and watch the race, walk over there, watch the race. So I did. And yay, 2015, American Pharoah won the horse race. And and I began to hang out at the horse racing place watching horse races. Gave him about $2 or so. And then I was like, and then when Preggy went to the hospital and had to go to a nursing home, I would go visit the OTB and then, just chat, shoot the breeze, and just having a good time. And then I heard that they're hiring new people. So I decided I'm going to work there. So I did. And I got hired as a hostess. And after a while, and then that's when I met my good friend. And at the time, we were both following horses. She is an expert in handicapping races. Handicapping is an art of looking at the past performances and guessing which horse will win the next race. And she has a knack for guessing the right horses. And I would help each other, and I and he and basically she helped me get a job promotion, and I actually processed bets, and I got a job raise. And so in 2017, we decided to go to Kentucky to visit the horse farms. You could actually can go visit the horse farms on tour. Usually it costs anywhere from 15 to 25 to $50 depending on what type of tour you want to go on. And you could go to the horse country website to actually book a tour. So if you ever have a chance to go to horse country, visit horse country, that's a website. You can actually can get yourself a tour. So we went to a place called Lexington. We stayed in Lexington, and we heard that there's a farm called Old Friends, where and that's where all we heard that there were three Kentucky Derby horses there. And then one of them got sick and passed. His name was Charismatic. He had a farm accident, paddock accident, I think, or I think he had a heart attack, and he dropped. He unfortunately he went. So there's two horses, Kentucky Derby horses. War Emblem, who was a tough grade A jerk, really violent, had double fenced. You can tell he has his own temper, very temperamental, very stubborn. And then there's Silver Charm. So we went to old friends give these horses a chance to be a horse. No more running around in circles. No more pressure or whatever. Just good old frolicking fun with eating carrots and being spoiled. And that's what or Emily did. Spoiled. With carrots and cookies and grass and just a beautiful pastoral thing where they live the rest of the years, and they get the best health care for them. So and they open tours to make sure that people can go see them. So I went to Old Friends. Okay, so this is the interesting part, and so we saw various horses. There's Sarava, the Belmont winner, who has also have a temperament, but I fed him a carrot. Just remember, when you have a carrot, just put a piece of carrot face, palm down, palm up like this. No, do this, don't do that. Palm out. So Sarava ate it, and then I met Cat Lunch. You're to a three-time Ohio Horse of the Year. Beautiful horse. When he did that, he's like, and that is so funny. Just the funniest thing. And very affectionate. And then we went up to see Silver Charm. His coat was now used to be dark gray, and now he's white. Beautiful white coat with this blonde, bleach blonde mane. And I think this is the type of thing that we're like, oh wow, we're going to meet a Kentucky Derby winner. So I went there and went up to his area where his pastor where he is at, and went back to the fence, and he said, "Here." And the tour guide handed us a carrot piece, and I said, they said, "Go ahead, you can feed him." So I did. I fed Silver Charm his his treat, and it's like, wow, a Kentucky Derby winner actually ate out of my hand. And then after that, this is the type of things that when things get a little bit weird, a little bit mystical, and a little bit spiritual. So all to my my naturalistic, atheistic other friends, forgive me, forgive me for putting that thing, because I want to make sure that. But I to this day I don't know what's going on. I still cannot fathom what happened. So here's the picture. He's about to kiss me. Lindsay took a picture of me like that, and when he kissed me, I felt a sense of divine love and joy. It's sort of like my life has changed. I do not know whether it's the mind chemicals like the serotonin and the octoxin and the dopamine rushing into my head. It was like it's utterly beautiful. And in a way, it feels like there's a chance of heaven. I never felt that love before when I was a Lutheran. Never. And I realized that life is way too short to feel like total crap. That's the thing. And I realized, and then I was pondering for days. What does this mean? That's a Lutheran thing. If you reread Luther's Small Catechism, what does it mean? It's a question that that little Lutheran kids will ask, and you respond. What does it mean? So now I had to think about what does it mean now that Silver Trump kissed me, and I found this, and the Lutheran Church is more like we don't do that. We do not want to dwell on emotions because emotions are unreliable, and of course there's two the both that's one extreme, there's always the charismatic type of experiential, and then there's the more cerebral confessional Lutheran Calvinist spectrum. And what happened is that I was on the confessional cerebral side, and what happened after Silver Charms kissing is more like a moderating. It's more like I'm learning how to be moderating between mysticism and in being grounded. And no matter, life is too short to feel worthless. And so I decided to focus on getting myself a career. And so I decided to apply for Churchill Downs, to work for Churchill Downs corporate. And I got a job there at Churchill Downs. And and then at the same time my husband died of the dementia. And I was working for Churchill, and the day he died, it was a relief. It was a very sad relief. It was needful. Who wants to live forever, to quote Freddie Mercury. And so I thought the first thing I want to do is go visit Silver Charm. So the day after I went to drove back from Louisville to Old Friends, and he ended up and I went up to Silver Charm. I said to him, "Well, my husband's with the Lord. He's dead." And then he would kiss me, just a big kiss, and just like, "Thank you." Thank you so much. I'll be okay. And and then suddenly I begin to think about a lot of things about humanity. And the people that accepted me are outside the Lutheran faith. And you know, they're and the thing is that they would say such and such is a sin, such and such, you know, it's that the culture. The culture at the time was a conservative English, a conservative Germanic, American, and it's thing. So I think which brings me to this, the last straw. And I moved to Kentucky. I became a Kentuckian on July 6th in 2000 in 2008 17. On July 6th, the next year in 2018, I was on Facebook, and my one of my old professors what was commenting on a protester. This protester, what was a typical, you know, stereotypical looking thing, shaved head, tattoos, piercings, and and the professor said about her appearance, "Do I assume it's gender?" I thought, what the hell? The audacity. You think a professor who is trained to be merciful will jest and make fun of somebody outside their faith just because of looks? I said, I left, I wrote on Facebook that I'm leaving, and I'm going to look for a spiritual environment that welcomes more people and allow me to feel more, looking for more of a spiritual um, um, health. I want to take advantage of spiritual health. I want to feel healthy and feel like I don't feel guilty and I don't feel less than because of my disability. To quote Slow Children, the 1980s new wave band, there was mercy, there was beauty, but there's no mercy there. And that's the thing about the way I see it. And and I thought, now left, where should I go? So I realized something. Silver Charms owners were also Anglican. Basically, they're it's not like Episcopal, but they're a little bit more conservative, you know. And I thought, okay, let's try this church. It's an Anglican church. If it's good enough for Bob and Beverly Lewis, the owners of Silver Charm, why not try their church and see what's about? So I did, and I felt very welcome. And and in fact, I was confirmed in the next year in 2019. Yeah, that year, and I felt much more happier because there's a lot of the good thing about what I've been learning over the years is that there is a certain permission to inquire. A theology that cannot be questioned should not be taken seriously. A good a good spirituality, no matter where you stand, should allow you to question without feeling guilty about it. And and Anglicanism allows me to question those things, to wrestle with the idea of good God, bad God, good cop, bad cop, cosmic sadist versus um 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 um, um friendly entity. and it's a very much um and it allows me and over time I have learned a lot of things. I wanted to be and it's because of Silver Charm that I enjoyed myself, and I feel like, which brings me back to this. So I attended his birthday parties yearly, and I was chosen to attend his 28th birthday party. And there's a bunch of people going in, going out. Yay. And he was selected to and I was like, a journalist came up to me and asked me about me, and the next day later, there was a newspaper article about me, and somehow the horse racing industry was like, wow. And then the New York Racing Association, the circuit for New York, they have their own TV show that's sponsored by Fox Sports, decided to have me be an interview with Silver Charm. And, and it was aired on Derby Day. A beautiful your looks like Roger's going to post up the link, or has posted up the link. So feel free to look at that. And it talks about autistic joy. It's just the idea of feeling like at ease with himself, to become a better person, to become more merciful. Because a horse was merciful to me, I became more merciful to others. And not only that, I was working for and then it brought me to mental health challenges. So I worked for a gas station, I worked for various places, and what happened is I was dealing with autistic burnout, and then I have I ended up going for a grippy sock vacation over at a mental health hospital over in and I decided, after I a few days later, when I after I was in the hospital for 5 days, I went to see Silver Charm on his 29th birthday, and that's when I realized I'm gonna file for disability and retire, and I'm gonna be broke as hell, but at least I'm gonna have the gift of time and focus on my own health. And so I applied for disability, and I approved in 2023. And the thing about this is that I decided to follow my theology, and so basically I thought, as I got into the world of Anglicanism, I said to them, I said, "Are you high church? Are you low church?" I said, "No, actually, I consider myself a Silver Charm Anglican." And they say, "What's that?" Well, originally it's a humorous reference to the differences between the Anglican churches. In order for you to identify of a Silver Charm Anglican, this is so like a 6 degree of Kevin Bacon game for theology wonks. In order for you to become a Silver Charm Anglican, you either join the Anglican Church or the Episcopal Church because of his honors, or somebody invited you who's related to Silver Charm, connected to that, or if you're a fan of Spirit Charm, and if you are an Anglican. So basically, it's so like a I have a friend who's all I in fact I already there's already one other Silver Charm Anglican, and that was my best friend. So basically, he was interested in what I and in that, so he was the second Anglican, Silver Charm Anglican. So so what does all this mean? So I get to flesh out my spirituality, and I search for meaning and purpose in the light of trauma. When you deal with trauma, you have to deal with the meaninglessness of it all, the banality, the tragedy, and how to make sense out of that tragedy, what to do with it. And there's a search for meaning and purpose in the light of trauma. Within that, there's some guidelines. always like the idea of mercy as an operating principle. Mercy should be the forefront of what we believe, what we do, what we offer. When we look at other people, we look through the eyes of love and mercy. And hopefully you want the best. You want the highest good. And you want to and also another thing that I always believe is a healthy spiritual life. Nothing cultic, nothing nothing that's unhealthy. Like lots of meditation or hardcore fasting, nothing like that. And like I say, it's just inquiry, in those things that makes it possible for me. And I get to read for a lot of resources. And and that's the thing. I love resources. I love to offer resources. If I know somebody needs help, I would look for it. And that's the thing. I mean, one of the purposes of my life is to enjoy the best is helping people. I help autistic people with a listening ear or looking for resources. I actually and that's the thing. I always like to help people with that. And it's because of that that I became a Kentucky Colonel. Let me show you my certificate. So I became a Kentucky Colonel in 2019, and that's for my work as a volunteer in the Kentucky Dairy Museum, and as a church and as a acolyte, and as a autism advocate. And for me, this is my meaning. I found meaning. I made a vow that when I became a colonel, I will not commit suicide or attempt, but rather to look for help and to preserve my own life. And this is what I want to do. I want to preserve my own life. And for me, and the thing is, I'm making plans for the future. You want to make plans for the future, and so I'm hoping to attend the Kentucky Derby next this year, and I'm making plans to attend his birthday on in February 22nd, the next month. So after I visit my family, for my dad, I'm gonna go visit. Hopefully, I'll go visit Silver Charm for his very first birthday. Horses do not rarely live that long. They usually live till their 20s or so. So basically, Silver Charm is so like in human years about 99 years old right now, about like 100-year-old Cetarian in human years, and um and so basically I'm very excited. And although I want to visit him again, I had to face more mortality. We all had to face it, even horses. And I'm hoping that one day I'll give a eulogy. I want to speak at his funeral and tell him how much he has made a difference in my life. I want to tell him how much his influence, his love has made me feel like I'm a better person inside and out. And in the meanwhile, I got plenty of living and learning to do. And I want to show you one last thing. So this is a bridle, a halter. This is a halter, and you can see here. Let me see which end is the horse, the face end. You can see here. This is supposed to be the where his spout came out, and this is where this head came in. So imagine, so somebody in the horse racing industry gave me a halter like this. Yeah, so all horses, well, as soon as they born, they all have halters, and they have halters for the rest of their lives. And so I have Silver Charm's halter. And my plan is that when I pass, I want this in my hands at my funeral. And when I get cremated, I'm planning to go get my ashes buried in at Sarah Charm's grave. I figure if I want to spend the rest of my life, and no matter if whether it's I do not know how my spirituality will splash out, whether I am doubting or it's vacillating, well, at least I know I can wait for I'll wait for the next adventure with Silver Charm. I'm looking forward to for that. And so that's about it. I mean, I really hope that you too will find something that sparks joy. I really want you to find joy. I really want you to find a healthy spirituality. Life is too short to feel like crap. Life is too short to feel like worthless. You deserve everything. You deserve to be yourself. You deserve a lot of those things. You deserve to be loved. You deserve grace. You you deserve to be to for you deserve to all that. And I don't want anybody, not a church, not your family, not your enemies, nobody. I really don't want anybody to tell you that you're not worthy. This is this is a testimony of that. Any questions, y'all?
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was so, that when I read your bio and your description, I knew that when I was listening, what would hear was probably going to uh, be very deep and heartfelt and very personal, and I think that it totally um, it was overwhelming with some joy, but also a little bit of sadness, but at the end of it, lots of joy because seeing sort of the ups and downs that you've gone through and then persevered at the end of it, you know, having all this hope. I think that is a wonderful story. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and hope is well needed, sir. Hope is well needed in this day of age. Back to you.
Does anyone else have questions? Is it Carol or Carolina?
Carolina, but call me Caroline.
Okay, so I just have to say thank you so much for sharing your story, and you did it in such a beautiful way. And now I'm trying to figure out how I can get to where you are so we can grab lunch or coffee.
Okay, I live and you could eat and you could actually can look at my blue sky under or under Facebook. You could go to Facebook, COL Colonel Carol Rutz, and my picture is of a goat. My PFP is of a goat drinking a Modelo beer. If you were to go to Blue Sky, you could try Aspie Alti. I used to be Aspie, and then I changed it to Alti. AUTIENKENTUKIA in Alti in Kentucky. And that's all, and that picture has a picture of a horse smoking a bong. So so yeah, I'm 4 for 20 friendly, by the way. It really helped me. But yes, when yes, drop by and I don't have a car right now. My car is has given up the ghost. So I had to go buy a new car one real soon. So yeah, yeah, don't go ahead, friend me.
Are you in Carolina? Are you in Kentucky?
Yep,
I am.
Kentucky.
I'm in Mexico, but I fly and drive anywhere. So. Oh, kumusta usted?
Get um um where's the province? Where which part of Mexico?
Okay, I got
Family.
and
I was named after my grandmother in over there, and my family is in okay. Looks like says horses are good people, and riding is a very spiritual type of connection.
That's
Correct. That's correct. Anything else, sweethearts? Yes, hon.
Hi.
Hi, hon.
Thanks. Hi. Thanks so much for telling your story. I identified with so much of it greatly. It ran fairly parallel to my life experience. And um raised Lutheran, and I mean just horse horses, farm, all the things, and yeah, and then the spirituality aspect of it, and I was like, oh, oh, yes, oh, that's all. It's just very unusual to find somebody that has so much similarity, and I'm obsessed currently with the Moon family in France, who are um, have a mission to save um, retired racehorses and things like that, and they're looking at changing European law so they can no longer be abandoned and discarded, and which is so vitally important. And
Yes,
the what the industry takes from these beautiful animals, and it needs to be given back. So
exactly.
yeah,
We're supposed to be good stewards.
it's amazing. So if you want to follow them, I think it's something like that on YouTube, and um, there's a phenomenal family impacting change there too. So yeah,
Cool. I'll check it out,
thank,
man.
Put in the chat room thing so I.
I will,
Thanks,
and
son.
I'll try and find you on Facebook. And
Yeah, in
Too.
fact,
Okay.
let me do my Facebook thing. Let me see Facebook. Ah, and then Blue Sky. I used to be over at Twitter, X, whatever, but we all know what the blank is going on. No, thank you. So here you go. You could go to Blue Sky. You can look under that. Anything else, y'all? Like I said, I'm more happy to chat and thanks, sweetheart. Please know I don't say sir or ma'am, because I want to make sure all y'all are included. It's nice to be with my tribe, the tribe of beautiful people of autism. And I think that's a good thing, just the idea of just I wasn't myself when I was a Lutheran. There's a certain decorum with it. And Germanic, and it's supposed to be meek, mild. I got hot sauce by my bedside, for goodness sake.
when you told the story about deciding to leave because you weren't getting what you needed, and of the circumstances, it reminded me of when I was younger and I was raised in New Orleans, and we're usually pretty much raised Catholic because that's what everybody does. And I pushed back so much on the things that they were telling me, and I asked all these questions that I got put out of Catholic school, like not Catholic school, but catechism. And
Ew.
and then I said, well, I didn't want to be here anyway. Then I marched to the church and told the priest, I want to take my name off the list. I don't want to be Catholic anymore. And he was like, there's no list. I'm like, I want my name off the list. Where's the list? And my mom was like, I can't believe you did that. I was like, nope. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So I really, it resonated with me when you said that. And it's such a shame. We should be able to have a place um, to worship, but life is life. So thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate this. I'm glad that I was available to be here.
Yeah, yeah. And if you, I do not know what spirituality are now. Like I say, I'm from the Anglican tradition of the Christian faith, but I understand if people prefer a different thing because you know something. I mean, this is a whole wide world out there, and you don't know what's going on, and sometimes you need to try to make sense. And I've been reading Juliana Norwick myself, who is a like a 13th or 14th century mystic. She's very she focused on love and joy as well.
Kara, I do have a burning question,
Yes,
that
Vince.
that comes from when you told when you're part of that story where they told you they wanted you to pursue a different profession. I mean, that is just completely, that's like every student's like worst nightmare.
Yeah,
It,
and the worst part of it is that that professor is actually, so I do not
oh,
know what the blank is going on with y'all, but please do not be like that professor. Just because you have an Ivy League degree does not mean that you had to go slipshod of prancing around um, with those highfalutin words and being a stuffy and all this good stuff. No, 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 no. Just never let education get in the way of being yourself, okay, sweethearts? And it stinks. I mean, it stinks that there are bozos there, but I had to say, guys, you guys are cool. I mean, you guys are cool, and now I'll realize that that professor is just the exception to the rule. Cool.
I am puzzled. Like, why do you even have an idea why someone would come to this conclusion? I mean, it just seems so appalling to me that
Well, here's the
someone
thing.
would say that.
So maybe some Lutheran, some background, um, has a certain behavioral subculture, and and the problem is that it's largely neurotypical. Later on, I found out late years later that another autistic person got asked to leave the seminary. A deaf person was denied his call. So was a blind person. And not only that, every of all my friends that went on to the seminary and also in that's how I got confused with my late husband went to. So one of the things about is that they're very Germanic. They're very stuffy, very set in their ways, and they're like they expect you to conform to this certain ethos. It's very Teutonic. And here I am, a Latina. I became a convert, to the Lutheran faith, and an autistic. I was outspoken. They don't like outspoken women. They want the meek. And I certainly ain't meek. And I think that's what makes them objectionable.
I don't think Latin women and meek in any way go together.
You'd be surprised. I mean,
Oh my gosh. My friends, my
Yeah.
Latin friends are fired up all the time. I'm sorry, I did not know I was off mute. I thought I was talking to myself. Sorry. Roger, I had the same experience that you did, Carolina, in terms of I was an undergrad for becoming I was becoming a speech therapist, and it was a small department, and the department head called the three black people into her office and told us we should choose something else, and I said, "Huh, I think not." They left. I stayed. She apologized to me later, but she did it at the instruction of the university, and I thought, oh my gosh. I mean, I grew up in Louisiana, so racism is not anything odd.
Well,
to me. But yeah, people do that. They ask you. People have a lot of balls, Roger.
yeah, in fact, I'm planning.
to real soon. I don't know.
We have to have coffee and drinks. Like,
But you know what?
What frightens me is what you said earlier about there's some kind of legal hearing that prevents lawsuits. I mean, that's kind of a setup for a lot of injustice.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, like I say, the freedom of religion is, I know it's supposed to protect religious freedom, but sometimes there's a fine line between religious freedom and the freedom to discriminate.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but it's just so sad that this thing just continues to happen, and
And the thing is that
um
I had to forgive, and eventually I would have to forgive. But the problem is that I really don't. I mean, I was thinking about Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor. He went before he found out that Martin Luther was buried in Wittenberg in Germany, and what he can do is he can take his body out and put him on a trial and burn his corpse. And Charles V said, "I don't wage war with dead people." And so when the professor passes one day, when I get to heaven, I'll be like saying, "Well, I'm beginning to understand why you guys do that. Well, just forget it. We'll share a bottle of wine and look and see what's going on with the world, the next world." But this is why I'm leaning more towards purgatory, but in a way that there's accountability, and I'm hoping that those who have hurt me will face accountability in this life and also possibly the next life. And I don't believe in karma. I believe in natural consequences. And for people to be that hateful, that stuffy, that cruel, and that callous, eventually their habits will catch up to them. I really don't want to be in the same place like that. I really don't want to be, in fact, I really don't want to be the person to cause others to lose their faith in God, in themselves, and in other people. I do not want to be just like that professor.
Hey, since we're gonna be friends, my name is um and I only correct people that I'm gonna hopefully see or be around in the future because it really doesn't matter. But I um I am so frustrated and ashamed and all of that because of the experiences that so many people have. And I know I didn't cause them, but you see them, you hear about them, you experience them, and um, I have experienced much less than most I know, and becoming like physically disabled and mentally different. I'm gonna say, um, and probably disabled, but you and I always looked at it and had friends that were different, like in chairs or whatever, and you see and try and fix what you could. And to grow up in like and then they went through several splits that the church did, and every split gave the people that wanted to stay the same or go backwards, and the people that wanted to move forward and be more accepting. And my family, thank goodness, went to the more accepting and moving forward, and it was still never enough. But to not examine your practices and your humanity inside of a spiritual realm or religious realm is so they're so fearful and they're so small and they're so shut down. And all it's not about the forgiveness of anybody that harms you. It's the forgiveness is for you. You forgive so you can release it and move on, like I wrote. But it's even those people you're like sending them love or whatever. It's all about transmutation and um, evolving
Alchemy.
yourself. Alchemy, yes, and yes, and you're harnessing that, and it's so fabulous. You have, you have, and you can just, it just like glows around you, and it is palpable, and you are a, you are what they fear because you are free and you have harnessed your power of authenticity, and that makes the most difference, and so cool, so cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. The whole point is that you guys are precious. I want you to, an examined life is the best life. Never be afraid to question your ideals. A God will understand. He'll understand. We're supposed to be family. You know, God the Father. And all that. And the thing is that if you're not honest with your dad, I mean, what type of relationship you have if you're unable to examine yourself and tell him how you feel? He probably knows. He already know how you feel. I think he expects you to just say, tell, just lay it on him. Just uh, um, no matter how what you do in your practices, whether it's Christian or outside Christian or atheist or Buddhist, do it with all your heart. Say it with the whole chest. Reach out and ask questions. Because if you don't, you stagnate. You don't want to stagnate.
We're here to learn and grow, and if you think about it, at least when I was little, like love and hate were like the opposite, but it's more of love and judgment are the, there's the the dichotomy, and it's fascinating to, it's a U inverse. So it, these experiences come up, I believe, so that we can overcome these challenges and experiences that we faced, and look at life with less judgment and more love.
Exactly, and that's the thing. My thing is all about love. In fact, I let me show you something that I have. This is the Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky at the time, and what happened was that she had a really bad situation with her boss, Governor, who actually has his thing. He's a very unpopular governor of Kentucky, and he she got her staff fired for a petty reason, and she's like, I'm dealing with spiritual forces beyond dark forces. So I made her some prayer beads with the hair of silver charm, and I gave it to her. I wanted her to pray. I wanted her to say, "Go if after you did your term in Frankfort, Kentucky, at the state capitol, do your acts of love. You go, and you know what happened? So got in trouble, got in and escaped this whole scandal with a clear conscience. And I'm glad to help her be encouraged for her to be herself. And I really and that's the thing. I really want people to feel like at ease.
Instead of dis-ease.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this ease brings disease.
Hmm. Hmm.
Great. Those are some real words of wisdom. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you
Um,
guys.
Okay, everyone. Well, I think if no one has any other questions or comments, then we'll just wrap it up. And I think, I mean, Carol, you covered so much ground. I can think of a number of things. If you're willing to come back, uh, we can
Yeah,
talk about some other topics. I mean, this issue that well, there's a lot of issues, but we'll remain in touch, and then we would
you
love to
better
have
do
you
because
back.
I want to talk about spirituality. I want to talk
That
about
that was number one on my list. Thank you.
and do yourself a favor before you leave. I want you to listen to this song. If you ever have a chance, um see there's a Japanese artist named Kataro, and he did a song called Sacred Journey 1 or Pilgrimage 1 because there's a two-part it's a two-part song. And so I recommend listening to that as a good palate cleanser. Here we go. So if you want to look up for that song, I highly recommend it.
Great. And I'll put that in the chat of the meetup group too, if you guys are interested. Um, all right. Well, thank you very much, Carol. And everyone, thank you for joining us.
Many blessings,
And
guys. God bless you. Don't do the things I do. I don't have any bill money.
have a good night.
Okay, everybody, happy hands, flappy hands, flappy hands. Now we'll leave.